Good afternoon, everyone. Today's public hearing is convened under the provisions of the Local Government Act of British Columbia to hear submissions related to the proposed bylaws. All persons who believe that their interest in property is affected by the proposed bylaws shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard respecting matters in the proposed bylaws. I would ask those members of the public who wish to speak to commence your address to this board by clearly stating your name. The board will not debate the matters of a proposed bylaw with individual citizens, but members may ask questions of you following your presentation. The main function of this public hearing is to listen to your views. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making their views heard. First hearing, bylaw number 2913 would enable on a site-specific basis the development of commercial storage limited to motor vehicles, recreational vehicles, trailers, watercraft, and off-road vehicles on a portion of the property on Holloway Drive in the community of Tobiano. Ms. Corporate Officer, are there any written submissions?
Thank you, Chair. There are no written submissions received past the deadline.
Thank you. Are there any in-person submissions? Anyone here who wishes to speak to this? Anyone online who wishes to speak to this item? Ted Howe? All right, we have Ted Howe online with his hand up. Go ahead, Mr. Howe.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ted Howe. I live on Holloway Drive. I did submit something via email, and I did get a response, so thank you for the response. Actually, it was quite a good response to the questions that I asked. Do you have that information with you?
Corporate Officer Jeremiah?
Thank you, Chair. That information was submitted to staff. Staff had responded. I believe Alex could speak to it as well. We were just informed that the individual was going to be speaking at the meeting, and so those questions could be asked at this time as well.
All right, did you hear that, Mr. Howe? Your initial query went to staff and was replied to by staff, but if you want to repeat the questions and right here so the rest of the board can hear them, that is perfectly fine.
Okay, great. So many of my questions were answered, so I don't want to necessarily go back and ask all those questions again. But I was curious as to whether other locations had been considered, and I'm wondering about the proximity of this proposal to the houses on Holloway Drive, and in particular, the location. There was some question I had about the actual location and whether it would be something that we could see from Holloway Drive, and also the access is not from Holloway Drive. As I understand it, it's actually from a different road. And so I'm just wondering whether this development would be visible from the golf course, in particular from the 14th tee. It looks like it's right next to that.
All right, thank you. Mr. Kraus.
Through the chair, I don't have answers to some of those questions. I'm hoping that the applicant is at the public hearing and can make their case and explain their proposal in terms of exact location. The property itself is addressed off Holloway Drive. That's the reason we're calling it Holloway Drive. But I'm hoping the applicant is at the public hearing who can speak to that.
All right, thank you. Oh, yes. If you could just identify yourself by name and occupation, please.
Sure, yeah. My name is Joe Master. I'm the applicant on the file. Quickly speaking to the access first, you're right. The address is off Holloway Drive, but the access to the development would be from Colebrook Road. In terms of visibility from the existing homes on Holloway Drive, I actually reconfirmed this morning, walked the site. On the highest elevation portions of the area to be rezoned, the kind of top floor of the last few homes on Holloway Drive are visible. So there would be a very mild amount of visibility there. But it is also measured out the closest locations from the lot to be rezoned to the closest home on Holloway Drive is about 450 meters, so about half a kilometer away. So we did choose the location, really focusing on minimizing the impact to the existing homes in Tobiano. Thank you.
Also wanted to know about, was it visible from the golf course, specifically the 14th green, I believe?
The 14th tee, actually. Yeah.
I'd have to reconfirm. I can get back to you with some more information on that. I can't speak to visibility of the tee box.
So my major question is actually whether other locations have been considered, because as you can imagine, we have multi-million-dollar homes on Holloway. It's a very exclusive resort that we live in. And one of the things that appeals to us is the fact that we don't have to see a bunch of RVs parked, down the street from us, etc. And I'm just hoping that this proposal is going to, make for a better community. So I'm not speaking against the proposal. I think we all know that we need this, but I'm just wondering about the location, because when you walk up the pathway past the little community garden, if you keep going in that direction towards the highway, there is some land that's kind of being leveled off. There's a bunch of fill that's being placed there, and that is far enough away from everything that I don't think you could see that from any homes. It's the Colebrook Road. If you keep going along Colebrook and you keep going past where it's paved and you keep going along the gravel portion, it leads to this area that's kind of being flattened, and it's no man's land. And so I just wondered if that's the location. It wasn't clear. The initial map that was sent to me looked like it was a lot closer to Holloway than it actually is. So yeah, I guess as a resident, I am obviously concerned about how this will affect our property values, and I'm just wondering, like there are two houses down the street from me right now. One of them just recently got put on the market, the one at the very end of the street, and I can't help but think that might have something to do with this proposal. I mean, that's just speculation on my part, but anyway, that's all I need to say. Thank you for listening.
I can speak to that other location he was speaking about. We did look at that. The downside of that location is that it's far more visible and accessible from the highway, which runs directly adjacent to that location. So we did consider it, but we ultimately chose or proposed the existing location as it is not visible from the highway and is quite sunken in to be as minimally impactful on existing development. Thank you.
And just a question before you step away from the podium. Is it anticipated that this fairly good-sized proposed facility is going to be adequate to serve the needs of Tobiano residents for some time to come, given the noted proliferation of recreational vehicles and leisure vehicles of various kinds?
Yeah, so as proposed, it's around 143 stalls. The proposed area is around 2.2 acres, whereas the zoning amendment application is about 7 acres. And that was intended to both give us some buffer space in the ultimate configuration, but also, to your point, if expansion was desired, provide a little bit of room for that as well.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to make presentation, either in person or online? Do you have a question, Director Grenier?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. This gentleman online was concerned about some of the visual aspects from the golf course and from his house. I'm just wondering, now that he has raised that, whether there's any opportunity to introduce berms or some kind of vegetation, if that turned out to be a problem, if that was confirmed or otherwise it isn't a problem, but if it is a problem, would berms or some kind of vegetation screening be appropriate in your mind?
Yeah, that is certainly something we could look at doing if it did become an issue. In terms of vegetation or landscaping, the area is quite far removed from existing services, so running irrigation up to that location would be quite challenging and possibly impractical at this time. But we could certainly look at berming if that was seen to be an issue.
Thank you. And there's one more question, I believe, from Director Middleton.
Thank you. And part of the question was asked by Chair Roden, but I wonder if we could just hear a little bit of an expansion on that. So you indicate that the proposed storage facility now would encompass about 2 acres or just over 2 acres of a much larger piece of property in this zoning. Is there a reason why, or does this parcel have to all be zoned one way? And perhaps the TNRD can chime in on that. Is like just for me, it looks like a very large chunk of Tobiano rezoning from one designation to another. I just thought, is there a reason that you haven't only requested rezoning for the chunk that you actually want to develop immediately?
Sure, yeah, I can speak to that. So I don't know if I'm going to have the terminology exactly right, but it's just an addition or an amendment to the existing zoning. So what the land is currently zoned for would also remain acceptable uses. And so we did expand the proposed zoning area just to allow for some flexibility in the ultimate configuration because the topography is a bit challenging in that location.
Thank you. Yeah, I can't really tell the topography by looking at that, so I don't know how much of it is actually developable or usable as commercial space or zoning. And so I don't know if in the 7 acres you said that it was,
That is the zoning amendment area. Yes.
how much of that is actually developable land?
I would have to get back to you on that number, but the area we're proposing to develop would be 2.2 acres.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak to this item? All right, asking a second time for further representations. Asking a third and final time for further representations. Seeing no one, I declare this public hearing closed. We move on to second hearing, which is regarding temporary use permit number TUP 90, bylaw 2924, which would allow traveler accommodation use, short-term rental, from an existing single-family dwelling for up to 3 years at 5645 Lytton, Lillooet Highway 12, north of Lytton, BC. Ms. Corporate Officer, are there any written submissions?
No written submissions have been received after the deadline.
Thank you. Are there any in-person submissions, either from anyone here in the gallery or anyone online? Don't see anyone raising their hand or moving towards the microphone. I'll call a second time for further representations. And I'll call a third and final time for representations. There being no further public speakers, I declare this public hearing closed. All right. Call to order this meeting of the Thompson-Nicola Regional District for Thursday, June the 25th, 2026. The TNRD acknowledges that we connect with many First Nations across our vast regional district, and today we are located on Tk'emlúps to Secwepemc territory, which is located within the unceded ancestral lands of the Secwepemc Nation. The TNRD appreciates the partnership that we have with Tk'emlúps to Secwepemc, and we respect the territory and lands on which we gather today. Alternate Director Beppel is here for Director Karpuk. Chair's updates. The Thompson-Nicola Regional Library's 50th anniversary book, For the Love of Libraries, honors the stories, people, and milestones that built the TNRL. The vision for a printed book was championed by former Chief Librarian Judy Moore, whose leadership helped to bring this project forward. Former TRU history professor Andrew Yarmy drew on photo albums, annual reports, and historical records to bring the TNRL's story together. I'm just reading what's written here. I did not write this. TNRD Board Chair Barbara Roden provided thoughtful edits. While the TNRL's Marissa Dederer guided the layout, final editing, and the publishing process. The book is now available online at tnrl.ca/50th. That's numeral 5, numeral 0th, with a print edition to follow. As we celebrate this milestone, we look ahead with excitement to the role our libraries will continue to play in our communities over the next 50 years. And I do encourage everyone to look at it either in its online or print form when that's available. It is a fascinating history of what it took to put together the regional library system. If you've been around this area for any length of time, you will recognize a lot of names from the past and see a lot of cool photos from the 1970s, which really was the decade that style forgot. Amazing. Community grant writer newsletter. Took a few people time to think, then they're going, yeah, the 1970s. No, not great for style. The inaugural Community Grant Writer newsletter was released on Thursday, June 11th. In collaboration with the Communications Department, the newsletter was distributed to nonprofit organizations within the Thompson-Nicola Regional District that have been engaged with the program and aim to serve a population within the TNRD's 10 electoral areas. The goal of the newsletter is to educate, remind, and inform those nonprofit organizations about the current and upcoming grant opportunities available from various funders. Each grant is displayed with high-level information outlining the amount available, the background of the grant, the deadline, and a link for more information. The plan is to distribute the newsletter every 3 months as grant windows close and open throughout the year. Future newsletters will also feature a feedback option to help gauge how the newsletter is being utilized and to make any necessary improvements. Individuals or organizations can find the inaugural Community Grant Writer newsletter, as well as future editions on the TNRD website at extremely long URL, https:// oh my God, I'm not going to read this. You can find it under Community Grant Writer Pilot Program. There we go. This is much shorter. Questions or requests for assistance from the Community Grant Writer can be directed to grants@tnrd.ca. That is simple and elegant. I like it. Tobiano Community Meeting. Residents of Tobiano are encouraged to attend one of 2 public meetings. On Tuesday, June 23rd. All right, well. Hope it was a good meeting. The TNRD and developer of Tobiano have a tentative agreement in place for land to be donated to the TNRD to build a new fire hall if residents approve borrowing for a fire hall. A referendum on this matter is expected to take place on October 17th. Information was presented at both meetings, and for more information, residents can visit the TNRD website or contact TNRD staff. Upcoming FireSmart free chipping days. The TNRD FireSmart program has a number of upcoming chipping days in the next few weeks. These chipping days help rural property owners to reduce wildfire fuels and have debris hauled away free of charge. Upcoming chipping days are confirmed for Paul Lake, Pasca Lake, Face Lake, and Dominic Lake. Those are on June 29th and 30th. Knopf Lake on July 7th, and Loon Lake on July 13th. Other chipping days are being planned for Upper Clearwater, Blackpool, Squam Bay, Pritchard, and Knutsford. For more information on chipping day events and to book a chipping day event in your community, visit the TNRD FireSmart webpage or contact FireSmart staff. Upcoming meetings: on July 16th, there will be a Policy and Governance Committee meeting at 10 and a regular board meeting at 1:30. Today in your blue folders, you will find regular mail, highlights of the Fraser Basin Council Board meeting, and correspondence regarding the Sun Peaks transfer station changes. And finally, in the event of an emergency, if the fire alarm sounds, please leave by the safest exit doors, either at the rear of the room or the main entrance, go down the staircase, exit the building, and assemble in the staff car parking lot at the back of the Paramount Theater. Please do not run, do not use the elevators. If you have issues with mobility, please advise the corporate officer. Are there any additions to or deletions from the agenda? Director Grenier.
Thank you, Chair. I have under new business an item that is circulated in the blue folders that's related to an item we'll be dealing with today that I'd like to raise under new business.
Thank you. Are there any other additions to or deletions from the agenda? Director Houghton?
I just want to add about three little things at the end, more or less reports on events I've attended more than anything. I
Okay.
thought it'd be fitting under new business.
Under new business? All right, thank you. Anything else? Could I have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended, please? Director Smith, seconded by Director Thorpe. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That is carried. We have the regular board out of town meeting minutes from May 28th.
So moved.
Director Blackwell, thank you. Seconded by Director Morris. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. We move on to 7.1, zoning amendment bylaw number 2913, 2026, regarding the property on Holloway Drive in Tobiano. We do have a recommendation. Moved by Director Ranta, seconded by Director Newstater. All right, is there any discussion on this item? Sorry, who's? Corporate Officer Jeremiah, yes?
Thank you. Apologies. As Director Hall had come in halfway through or through the majority of the beginning of the public hearing, we just cannot have a vote or have his vote counted as part of the public hearing for that matter. The second part of the public hearing, absolutely. It's just the first one, unless we provide a synopsis of what was discussed during that.
So are you comfortable not voting on the first item, item 7.1, or would you like a synopsis of what was discussed? Entirely up to you.
Well, it's interesting because, you know, when you read the agenda in advance, you're actually well informed of the items on the agenda. So, but
This is what happened at the public hearing.
is a different matter. So I'm fine with that.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions or comments regarding 7.1? No? All right. On the question, then all those in favor? Is anyone opposed? That is carried. And 7.2, temporary use permit number TUP 90. Director Thorpe makes a motion, Director Blackwell seconds. Any discussion on this item? Director O'Connor.
Thank you. I'd just like to say I support this application for this TUP. Considering the limited number of accommodations in our area, it is welcomed. So I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments on recommendation 1? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried. We have a second recommendation. Move to Director Thorpe, seconded by Director Ranta. Any discussion on recommendation 2? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Delegations, invited presentations. Our first presentation is from Margaret Bandura and Shay Paul on Music for the People. Welcome to the podium.
Thank you so much. We're back. Oh, this thing? You do it. So Music for the People is back. We're switching it up a little this year. We have the Spiritual Warriors coming from Mount Currie to perform. They are a funky rock, reggae, Indigenous band, and we'll have 6 performers from the symphony playing with them, as well as Sage Hill's singers, drummers, and dancers. This event brings everyone together. It doesn't matter what culture you are. And the point of it is to bridge that gap. So if somebody hasn't seen the symphony, they will see performers from the symphony. If somebody hasn't seen an Indigenous dancer, they'll see an Indigenous dancer, and they all perform together as one. This, of course, is near and dear to my heart. My husband, Rod, and I started it together, and his mother was taken at age 8 from New Westminster and spent 8 years at the Kamloops Residential School. So there was a bit of generational trauma there, and what music does is it heals. And so that's why we want to bring everyone together for the 5th annual Music for the People. We will also have the Rod Little Sky Bandura Music Scholarship again. This scholarship will give an Indigenous person, doesn't matter what age, a free instrument and a year's worth of lessons. Last year, Cash Charters was the winner, and he picked out a beautiful guitar. Yeah. Anyways, so there will be an artisan market as well. It's the Music for the People Artisan Market this year. And you can enjoy food trucks, do some shopping, and listen to some free live music. We look forward to having everyone come out and enjoy the show. Last year, we had around 1,600 people, so each year it's kind of clawing its way up in numbers. Shay Paul is on the board of directors, and she just has a few words to say.
I am always honored to be a part of the work that is being done around Indigenous representation and the mending and the interweaving of Indigenous and non-Indigenous relations in Kamloops. I am the project director and gallery curator for the Indigenous Resurgence Project. I am also a representative in the regional director for the Thompson-Okanagan on Arts BC, and the visibility and support of arts is always the forefront of what I do. So being a part of this event, supporting not only Indigenous but non-Indigenous artists, musicians, small businesses, and really encouraging the intermingling of cultures in Kamloops is so important. And I have seen this event grow each and every year. As many of us here in Kamloops and the area are familiar, we see how events build one year after the other. And I definitely believe that this mandate, this vision that the Music for the People Society has, is a positive force for the communities of Kamloops and everyone living within it. As Margaret already said, the importance of that visibility, that cross-cultural connection, to be able to see a symphony show at no cost, to be able to be welcomed into Indigenous culture without fear of being an outsider, is so important to our community and our municipality in times of turmoil and struggle, as we are seeing right now in the political landscape, where people are feeling disconnected from each other. It is the arts that bring us together. And as a fellow board member recently said at a meeting that I attended, the arts are everywhere because people are everywhere. And to be able to gather here into Kamloops for this event with music, with culture, with heritage is something so special that I hope to see so many people come to, and wholly invite everyone in this room to come and attend and experience alongside all of us so that we can celebrate each other. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Cook Stem. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you very much. Our second delegation is from Blue Earth Renewables. We have a presentation from project developer Tyler Kuchina and senior engagement specialist Jared Spruill, who are going to provide some project updates for us.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having us. We were here back in October to give everybody an update on the projects that we're working on within the TNRD, and there's been a few changes along with a few things moving forward through the permitting process. So just thought it was a good time to come and give people an update on where we're at. So we'll just focus on the first few bullets there. There is some additional information in there that folks can look at afterwards if they like, but wanted to let you know about the results of the 2025 call for power for BC Hydro. So we had submitted in a couple proposals. One was for the Cash Wind project, and then we also were looking at a potential expansion of the Mahatamihu solar project north of Logan Lake. And both of those did not get selected in the 2025 call. So just a quick update on where we're at with those is the Cash Wind project we're continuing development on and going to be working, putting mainly this year doing some more wind measurement in the area. And then for the phase 2 that we are contemplating for the solar project, we're no longer going to proceed with that. And we're looking at just focusing on the original 104 megawatt project that was awarded a EPA in the 2024 call. One of the main reasons for that is the interconnection capacity in the area doesn't look like it's going to be cost effective to connect additional megawatts to that line. And then we'd also heard some concerns through the permitting process that we're in around the potential growth of that project and the contemplated doubling of the size. So a quick update on where we're at with the project that is moving ahead, which is the original 104 megawatt project that we were successful in the 2024 call with. We're in the middle of the kind of BC environmental assessment process and continue to move through that. But just a quick reminder on this project on kind of the size and location and that. So it's 104 megawatts, going to generate enough power annually for about 20,000 average BC homes. The property tax assessment projections for that is between $2 to $3 million annually. It'll provide about 200 construction jobs in the area, 3 long-term full-time operations jobs, and the anticipated in-service date for this would be end of September 2030, with kind of an anticipated start of construction middle of 2029. Again, the area that we are looking at here does have an excellent solar resource. It's very close to the existing BC Hydro transmission line, which we're connecting into. So it only needs about 1 kilometer of new line to connect to the existing line. It's got limited environmental constraints that we've observed so far. It's relatively flat, south facing, was impacted previously by the wildfire and has good existing access to the site. A summary of what we heard through the BCEAO engagement process and what we've heard from our engagement with the community so far is listed here, but from Indigenous communities, just the importance of land use, habitat, archaeology, and the watersheds in the area. So there, we've got, I think, 4, potentially 5 communities that registered to participate in the BC environmental assessment process. And we're continuing to engage with all the communities in the area. But they're going to be involved in the studies and doing their own assessments and things like that as well. As part of that, we've been engaging with the Logan Lake ATV Club on the potential impact to a portion of the trail system there, and working with them on if we need to relocate a portion of the trail, we'll be working with them on rerouting options on that. There was concerns about kind of impact to hiking and recreation in the area, so we're working on that. The grazing licenses that overlap the tenures, obviously there could be some impact with grazing areas. We've met with the grazing license holders that use that area, and we've committed to looking at some potential co-use options that we're exploring further, as well as ways that we could potentially look at rangeland improvement in other areas to try to help offset some of the impact. Been working closely with the Logan Lake Communities Forest. There's potential that a portion of the layout may be in the community forest, so we're working with them to do an assessment on those impacts and see if that's something that'll be okay to look at. And then from a few of the residences on Tonquoia Lake Road, there's some overall concerns about the level of construction traffic and how we're going to mitigate that. So we're coming up with those plans and numbers for them and how we're going to kind of make sure we keep that road safe and minimize construction traffic and noise. And then we heard a lot of feedback on the project size and kind of increased concerns with the idea of the project potentially doubling in size. So with it not being successful in the 2025 call, we're pulling, we're not going to be pursuing that anymore. And we're going to be kind of formally in our detailed project description with the BCEAO, taking that extra area that we were looking at permitting out of the permitting process. So we're just going to be focusing on the original 104 megawatt area, which is going to be about 200 hectares in size, so around 500 acres of area. A high level kind of project schedule and update. As we mentioned, we've got continuing engagement ongoing. We're just finalizing a whole bunch of responses in the form of kind of frequently asked questions we're going to be posting to our website and providing another newsletter out to area residents and license holders and folks within kind of 2 kilometers of the project boundary. We'll be looking at future open houses as we continue to advance the project. And then of course we're in the BCEAO process as well. So there's, we're kind of done the initial project description, taking all that feedback, and we're working on what's called the detailed project description and hoping to have that submitted towards the end of July or into August sometime. So yeah, we're continuing to engage with all the community and the users in the area and have some meetings and stuff set up to kind of continue to get everybody's feedback as we kind of work to finalize the site plans and the layout and things like that as we move forward through the permitting process and development. Yeah, we'll end it here and be respectful of the 10 minutes and leave a little bit of time for some questions if anybody has them.
Thank you very much. Director Grenier.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for that presentation and the update. This is certainly news to me. I haven't had any of this information prior to that, but welcome it. On June 2nd, there was a tour. Director Houghton and I attended a tour. It's called Guardians of the Grasslands. And it was up in the Tonquoia Lake area on Indian Gardens Ranch, who are the ranchers that you speak of that have the grazing licenses. And I think there's a mix of community forest and what have you. But as you point out, areas have been burned and cleared. That Guardians of the Grassland tour was a kickoff of a Canadian-wide tour by the Grasslands Federation. And this was showcasing a BC ranch and how important that was. And so Director Houghton can certainly speak to what he heard, but on that tour, what we heard was a few things. Why here? Why not build solar panels on parking lots at YVR or on top of buildings? Why does it have to be in the Tonquoia Lake Park area? And that was some of the general feedback from folks that are interested in grasslands preservation. Specifically, on June 2nd, I was in discussion with the ranchers, the Haywood farmer family, extended family, generational family, and they continued to express significant concerns and also said, we'd like to talk to these people and we'd like to discuss what might be happening. So you've told us that you have met with those folks, and that's wonderful news. But I'm wondering if that was after June 2nd, because I can relay some of what they said on June 2nd if it wasn't.
Yeah, we had met with them. We had met with them in March around the open house time that we were there. And then we followed up since with kind of some things that we're working at.
So my meeting is the last conversation then on this issue on your proposal. And what Mr. Ted Haywood Farmer said to me was, have they ever considered raising the solar panels so that the cattle can graze underneath the solar panels and continue to use the grazing lands? Mr. Haywood Farmer said that these are very important grazing lands, and the whole context of the Guardians Grassland Tour was that this area is all critical to the successful ranching and food production of cattle ranching in BC. And so he's expressing that concern. He is expressing an interest to meet with you people to look at opportunities where there might be something to coexist. And the other attendees are saying, why here? I think, Director Houghton, is there anything else that I haven't captured in that conversation? Thank you. So I would just simply say, if you could make this information available to the TNRD, I'd like to be able to share that information with those folks. We also had feedback from the Tunquil Lake people. Tunquil Lake people created an organization, I think they called it Save Tunquil or something like that, and they expressed quite a concern. But have you met with those people?
Yeah, we've met. Yeah, we've met. We had some meetings yesterday in the area and stuff too. And we have had follow-up calls with Ted and that as well. So yeah, that was the premise. The whole discussion was the co-use. So we committed to taking that back and looking at the costs to raise the panels and try to help facilitate co-use. So that's underway right now. We're working on that. There's not a firm commitment that we'll be able to do that. But we're committing to looking at it and see what we can do from that. I've also followed up with him and let him know that we're not proceeding with phase 2. So he should know that as well. So yeah, we're in discussions with them and we're actively looking at the potential for the co-use, which would be raising the panel heights and looking at seeing if grazing could happen underneath and amongst the panels.
Well, thank you. If you could make that information available to TNRD, I'd much appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Alternate Director Beppel, then Vice Chair Smith.
Thanks, and an exciting project. The provincial hunting and trapping regulations, which designate areas where people can or can't hunt, or restrictions, or just general information, either for your specific project or more generally for any project that's in this type of terrain. Do you know whether the wildlife management branch of the province is going to be putting any information out there for hunters? I just think, you go out into the bush and you're not really expecting to come across this type of installation. It's different than what they might expect. Do you know whether the wildlife management branch is going to be updating their information? I'm just looking at it and there is nothing here right now that says what to do if you find a solar panel array, or what to do when you find a wind farm in the bush. Is there been any talk about that?
I'm not sure if the wildlife branch is going to update plans on that, but we can look into that with them. Yeah.
Thank you. Vice Chair Smith.
Thank you for coming back again. Good to see you again. I just want to ask a couple of questions. I suspect that many of the comments probably came in very close to the cutoff for open comments. And I think that the reason for that is many people were getting confused between the project at the mine site that had more or less the same name and the project at the Tonquah Lake site. So I just want to mention that because that's kind of the feedback I'm getting is a lot of people were getting those projects confused and thinking they were asking for comments on the mine site one.
On the operational one already?
Yes.
YM solar project? Okay.
Surprising, sorry, yes,
Yeah.
it does have a different name, but
Yeah.
same company. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that because the feedback that I'm getting specifically is people didn't know. And I know that you've come and done open houses because I attended. And I just want to ask, what is the level of feedback that's required on your part to be able to say that you've satisfied the process? Because I feel like sometimes it's okay to say, yes, we're consulting and we're providing the information. But if you're not getting the feedback back, then perhaps the information isn't getting out to enough people. So I guess that's my feedback from what I'm getting from the process. So that would be my first question.
Yeah, so what we've done to try to reach out to everybody is, we've taken a 2-kilometer buffer of what was a larger investigative use license area. We pulled down the ILRR list for that. So that's everybody that would have a tenure or an interest in the property. And we directly mail them project information. If somebody's got a private fee simple lot in that area, we're pulling all the titles and we're mailing out directly to them. And then we also do the public postings and stuff. So the newspaper ads, we use the information board in Logan Lake. And then for the EAO process, there was also notices posted around at various locations kind of through the project area. So that's been the method of kind of outreach and stuff to date. We do get some bounce back mail from time to time because some of those addresses on people's files and stuff are out of date, but we do our best to kind of reach out to everybody directly. And then when folks attend or give us feedback, then we make sure we update kind of our consultation records and stuff so that we've got more kind of modern methods of communication and how people want to be engaged, whether it's by email, phone, those type of things.
Thank you. And I understand it's difficult to get people out to open houses because we host them often and we understand.
Yeah.
But it is what it is when you get a community full of people saying, but we didn't know. And it's not that they shouldn't have, it's just that they didn't. So I guess that's my first question. The other one, which you've already answered, the other one was the District of Logan Lake sent a letter asking about cumulative impacts of all of the different or many different energy projects that are happening within our region. And I don't see that reflected in your report. And I don't know if that's because it didn't perhaps go to the right place. But I just want to mention that there is a lot of projects that are all happening kind of in a condensed area. And the District of Logan Lake did send a letter asking for some sort of study on cumulative effects of all of these different projects on the area. So I don't know what that would look like for you guys in terms of participation. And then my colleague asked the other question, which was the popular one about raising the panels up. So thank you.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Nope, seeing none. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks for this time today.
We move on to item 9, which is unfinished business. There is none. Question 10, question period. Are there any questions for members of the public? Either online or in person? No questions? On to 11.1 bylaws. Beautiful Nicola Valley Official Community Plan Bylaw number 2899 and Rivers, Peaks and Grasslands Official Community Plan Bylaw number 2900. We do have two recommendations. Director Laird, seconded by Director O'Toole. Thank you. This is recommendation 1, Beautiful Nicola Valley Official Community Plan, that it be read a second time. Any questions or comments? No, Director Houghton, all right. Any questions or comments? On the recommendation, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Director Ranta moves recommendation 2, seconded by Director Smith. Falling off your chair is not enough, Director Getz. I'm sorry. So we do have this recommendation moved and seconded. Does anyone have any questions or comments on this? And congratulations to staff and all those involved in getting these so close to the finish line. These are massive projects. So thank you to everyone for all your hard work over many, many months. On the question, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. Electoral Area B Mosquito Control Service. Director Onslow is going to move that one. And it's going to be seconded by Director Thorpe. Any questions or comments on this? That Electoral Area B Mosquito Control Service Area Establishment Bylaw number 2920 be adopted. Doesn't that sound nice? Director Onslow.
I just wanted to thank the staff for the hard work that they put into getting this moved forward and working with me and also with the community. It's very appreciated. And our local Facebook page has exploded today because the mosquito hatch has happened. I don't want to go home. I don't want to go home. No. But one of the comments was swing by Costco and pick up a case or two of bug spray. So this is really going to help move our community into a more enjoyable living environment in the future. And I'm really thankful for the support of the board and the staff. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 2925. This is for 4373 Clearwater Valley Road in Wells Gray. Director Sow, seconded by Director Onslow. Thank you. We do have a recommendation. Does anyone have any questions or comments? No? On the question, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Development applications, Agricultural Land Commission application ALR 267 in Electoral Area L. Director Houghton, thank you. Seconded by Director Thorpe. We do have a recommendation here. Anyone have any questions or comments? Director Houghton?
Just to fill you in, and I imagine you've read it in your notes. This is an example of a large city like the city of Kamloops and a small community like Knutsford working together to basically help the city accounts expand their development for a place to get rid of their topsoil at so close to a large development like Pine View and up in that area. And there's been lots of that moved. And I think I mentioned it in previous meetings up into Knutsford. Seems to be the place to go. It's close. And a lot of people have put it to good use. This particular gentleman has applied for the proper permits and is doing it the right way. And it's a perfect way of the TNRD working together to help both sides of the boundary, like we keep talking about. So I just wanted to share that with you. That I hope more of this comes to us in the future because it's a win-win for both sides.
Thank you, Director Houghton. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? On the recommendation, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. 12.2 Temporary Use Permit Application TUP 91 in Electoral Area L. Director Houghton makes that motion, seconded by Director O'Toole. Any questions or comments on this? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. 12.3, temporary use permit application TUP 92 in electoral area O. So moved. Director Hayward, thank you. Seconded by Director Sarai. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. We move over to CAO verbal report. Over to you, CAO Hildebrand.
Thank you, Chair Roden, and good afternoon, Board of Directors. Before I get started, I just wanted to do a quick introduction of our new community grant writer, Tyler Lowy. He's sitting just here behind me. He joined the finance grant team just a few weeks ago and will play a vital role in connecting community groups and organizations from across the region to grant opportunities and ideas to help support their local efforts. So join me in welcoming Tyler to the team. I have a number of topics I just wanted to share with the board. Firstly, with an update on our EOC. Two parts to this one. The EOC was activated on June 16th in response to the Culloch Creek fire near Stump Lake. One property was placed under evacuation order and about 30 others were placed on alert. TNRD EOC staff attended the scene and delivered evacuation order to the resident, ensuring they had a safe place to go. BC Wildfire dedicated significant resources to this fire, and by the following morning on June 17th, it was classified as being held with a recommendation to lift the evacuation order. The evacuation alert remained in place until the 18th, and then it went to all clear and under control, which was great news. The fire originated almost precisely at the junction of 3 electoral areas. That would be J, L, and M. So staff remained in contact with the chair and all directors throughout the response. And then more recently, we were activated again on June 19th, and it remains active. As you are aware, the Saw Creek fire in Lytton was our most recent priority for the EOC team. This fire started at about 5 p.m. last Friday evening and exploded in size just over a few hours to over 700 hectares. Multiple alerts and orders were put in place, and staff kept the board and local elected officials updated throughout the weekend. As of today, I'm happy to say that the fire is being managed well and recently rescinded all orders and alerts to all clear, which was great news. We continue to work with the Village of Lytton on a number of kind of cleanup processes and things like that and debriefs. That'll be very helpful. We unfortunately had to report out on one confirmed loss of structure that day to date. During that event, our relationship with Lytton and local First Nations have proven invaluable as we all work together for our residents and First Nations members. Fire season is certainly upon us, and these last few weeks remind us how quickly things can happen. I'm grateful for our EOC team and the work they do whenever they're called upon. My next topic is just on our search and rescue AAP deadline update. So this is just a reminder. Tomorrow is the last day to submit a response form to the TNRD's ongoing AAP if residents choose to do so. The TNRD is seeking to borrow funds for construction of a regional search and rescue hall and training facility and to fund operations of the facility. This site would serve as the headquarters for Kamloops Search and Rescue and be a regional training facility for search and rescue groups all across the Thompson-Nicola region. This AAP is open until June 26th at 4 p.m. If you are in favor of this proposal, no action is needed. If you are not in favor, you must submit a response form by that deadline. Anyone looking for more information, you can certainly find it on our TNRD website. We talked a little bit about mosquitoes. So as you would have just heard, that took place in Area B. Just wanted to also mention that successful referendum was held in Area B and primarily affects the communities of Vola and Blue River. The service will start in 2027 for Area B with taxation starting next year as well. From a ERP finance and HRIS system update, our finance system I know our finance team is losing sleep and hair, I'm sure, because this is a huge change for our organization. It's coming very soon. We're going to go live on July 13th with the finance portion of this. Finance is working extremely with tight deadlines on this one. It is not expected to go over budget, so we're in good shape that way, as we also found some savings in software licensing. We met with our auditors for an opinion on our implementation. They're very happy with kind of the system we're moving to and the process that we're following. From an HRIS or an HR system, this one is going live in August. This system is requiring significant time and effort to transfer over all of our data, and we're managing that carefully. I know that team is also under a lot of stress and pressure to get this one done. This project is also within budget, but we are working to optimize many efficiencies with these two legacy systems and move on to much more efficient and effective systems for 2027. Second last point I wanted to make was on regional orientation and board orientation. With the upcoming fall election, I wanted to share an update on a few items relevant to education and orientation. Candidate information sessions are being planned for late July and early August. This is where we will host information sessions for the public, particularly interested candidates on all the information that running for the TNRD as an electoral area director entails. So that's predominantly for the electoral areas. So that'll be coming up soon. Post-election, we're going to have a number of orientation sessions. Number one will be our regional one that we do with all of our member municipalities. So all the mayors and councils from all our member municipalities join us on November 6th. That's been communicated to all the CAOs, and that's in the calendars for them. Ron Matusi and Denise McKay will provide a high-level orientation on the general information about elected officials. And then the second session will be TNRD specific, and that'll be 2 half-day sessions on November 18th and 19th, and that's where we dig a lot deeper into an orientation around the TNRD and how we work and operate, and that'll be presented by staff. And then I'm also working with the City of Kamloops and Mr. McCorkle on bringing in George Cuff for a more in-depth training session that it's still work in progress, but we are trying to get City Council and the TNRD board together to go a little bit deeper in some of the more the topics that are just a bit more contentious that we need to really make sure that new elected officials will be up to speed on. And we're shooting for November 25th and 26th for that. And then finally, just please note that the TNRD inaugural meeting is scheduled to take place in the evening of November 19th. And then one final note I wanted to make a point of before passing it over to Corbin is just this past Monday, staff attended an engagement session hosted by the Ministry of Forests regarding an update to the Heritage Conservation Act Transformation Project. The ministry is proposing changes to the Heritage Conservation Act to streamline and speed up the archaeological permitting process in BC. They've assured us there will be more engagement sessions once the regulatory framework is put in place, with more information to come in the very near future. So with that, I will pass it over to Mr. Kelly for a few updates.
Yeah, thank you, Sayo Hildebrand, and good afternoon, everyone. I hope my hard hat hair looks good for you after our tour of the Cancer Center this morning. But just a few updates from me, the first being UBCM staff meeting requests. So there's been a change of the way that UBCM is doing staff meetings this year, I think certainly in recognition of the financial state that the province is in. So all staff meetings will not occur during the usual week of the conference. They'll be the week prior and take place over Zoom. Our understanding is that UBCM is moving to this model to allow for further staff-to-staff discussions and be able to dig a little deeper into some of the topics, in addition to, of course, saving on travel costs for provincial staff. For the last 3 years, staff at the TNRD have proactively reached out to staff from different ministries that we had advocacy priorities with and met with them on an ongoing basis to ensure that they're up to date in terms of what our advocacy priorities are. So this isn't unusual. The only change will be that we won't have 25 meetings over the 4 days of UBCM. And again, those meetings will be over Zoom and likely restricted to the number of folks that can attend them, certainly wanting to keep it more staff to staff related. And that's what we've heard from UBCM. The one thing, of course, that this does change is for directors who have area specific advocacy priorities that they wish to raise with the province. We still want to ensure that you have the ability to raise those with provincial staff. And what we request of directors who wish to bring forward topics would be to send those to myself. I'll send a more fulsome email to the board in terms of timelines that we need to get those meeting requests in by, but that you share those with us and that staff are able to bring those forward to you, to UBCM staff and provincial staff during our meetings the week prior to the conference. The second topic, Crown land misuse. I know it's an ongoing concern, and certainly folks on social media will see on Jameson Creek Road, Forest Service Road, as well as some other areas within the regional district. This is, of course, an ongoing concern, something that would not necessarily fall under our usual advocacy priorities. But we're working with staff on our side, as well as Director Morris and others, to communicate effectively with provincial staff to try and get a solution to some of the issues that we're facing when it comes to folks misusing Crown land and becoming nuisances on Crown land. So more to come on that. Certainly want to ensure that we're keeping that top of mind with the province. And then finally, just an update, First Nations memorandums of understanding. We continue to work with First Nations to advance government-to-government relationships, both with those that we have agreements with and those that we do not. We recently had a joint MOU review session with Tecumloops that included Director Morris and Director Bass, as well as myself and a few councillors from Tecumloops, and I think it was a very positive experience to dig deeper into the terms of our agreement and what they actually mean and how we can further advance our relationship. It's no surprise to anyone around this table that changing political climates are putting strains on relationships as capacity needs to be focused elsewhere. But the TNRD remains committed to advancing government-to-government relationships as directed by this board under the strategic plan, because we know it's the right thing to do. So we'll continue to do that, and we look forward to future meetings that we'll have with local First Nations. So that's it from me, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for CEO Hildebrand or Mr. Kelly? Director Onslow and then Director Thorpe.
Thank you for that. This is to Mr. Kelly. I'm just looking for some clarification around the staff-to-staff meetings. Are elected officials actually going to be in those meetings? If it's our key advocacy that we're doing, but I feel that it's really important that an elected official is able to talk to the staff as well.
Yeah, I absolutely, and that's certainly what we want to see. You know, the chair of the board or chair of a committee, or certainly specific to you know, if there's an electoral area specific issue, to be able to have you there. I think the challenge is the number of attendees that we can have, and wanting to make sure that we're cognizant of staff's time. These, just because they're online in the week before doesn't mean that we get to have them any longer. So I think that there's some challenges there in terms of ability to schedule, but we want to make sure that that you are able to share your concerns with provincial staff and have those conversations. Absolutely.
Thank you, Director Thorpe.
Okay, I've got two. First of all, I echo exactly what Director Onslow's saying. Electoral areas often have a specific ask or concern. And quite frankly, I think as the boots on the ground, they're much more capable, and no disrespect to staff whatsoever, but of answering minister staff questions, because they're there and they're talking to their residents or are aware of the situation. We can give you a briefing note, but it may not have the fine tunes. So I would respectfully ask that you advocate very hard that there be elected officials in the discussion on Zoom. I don't see there being an issue with numbers. It will be on Zoom. So I think that that's something that could be accommodated, please. Okay, and my second one is I wanted to take a moment regarding the Saw Creek wildfire, please. I would like to express appreciation to Lytton First Nations for all they did for the community in looking after, by setting up an emergency evacuation center, by feeding the community. BC Wildfire for the incredible job they did. MP Caputo, MLA Tony Luck for being in constant contact and checking to see if there was anything they could do. I'm greatly appreciative of that. I would also like to take the time to thank TNRD staff for all the work they did, with special kudos to Kayla and to Mike, because my resident that lost his property, they were really good with him. And he actually said that they were, quote, saints. So I think that needs to be recognized, just the way that that was handled. I'm extremely grateful for that. I would like to thank all the firefighters that came in from the neighbor communities to help. That was wonderful to see that collaboration from our neighbors. And last but not least, I'd like to thank a Village of Lytton counselor who saw my resident looking somewhat lost and took him in for 3 nights. That was community working together. So kudos to Councillor Toss for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. I too would like to just thank the TNRD staff. Friday night in particular was a very, very long night. And lots and lots of moving parts to put together from the Village of Lytton, from the TNRD, from LFN, from stakeholders like BC Wildfire. There was a power outage. Just so much goes on behind the scenes that people don't understand. And I'd like to thank the TNRD EOC for the benefit, or the help, I should say, that they give to small communities like Lytton, like Ashcroft in the past. We simply don't have the capacity to do our own mapping in an instance like this, and the support we get from the TNRD EOC in issuing evacuation alerts and orders with the absolutely first-class mapping. And I have seen the mapping that comes out from some other local governments in the province, not in our area. And our mapping is miles ahead in terms of clarity, in terms of being easy to read and clearly showing people what areas are affected. So thank you to the staff there for that. And the fire is being held, so thank you. Yeah, and I just will too say that I did see one elected official, not from someone around this table, who did make a statement on social media to the effect that 4 homes had been lost. And just a reminder, no. Perhaps I'm very sensitive. This is a journalist, because I know that if I published before I heard official word that 4 homes had been lost, I would probably be looking for a new job very quickly. As elected officials, yes, we are in small communities. Yes, we're hearing the same rumor mills that everyone else is hearing, but unless or until you have official confirmation from an official source like BC Wildfire, in the event of a death, BC Coroner Service, or the person themselves comes to you and says, yes, I lost my home and I don't mind people hearing because I want my story told, that's fine. But just, oh yeah, 4 houses have been lost. And I will just repeat the story from Clinton a few years ago. Someone who had been evacuated read on social media their house had been lost. 18 hours later, oops, no, it wasn't lost after all. We made a mistake. So you don't want to be the person who says that a house was lost and it wasn't. And you don't want to be the person who posts that a house was lost and the owners of the house or people related to the owners read it in a social media post. So I know we're near the end of the term. Hopefully this is the last time that's going to come out this fire season, but we just do have to be very, very careful. People are looking to us. I know there's a lot of distrust for local politicians of all stripes. In an emergency, a lot of people who badmouth their elected officials are looking to those same elected officials for leadership and guidance and calm. People who wouldn't necessarily give you the time of day are now wanting you to tell them what the situation is. It's a huge responsibility. So just be very, very careful when you're talking about the loss of homes. It's a very, very emotive subject for people. I know there are people around this table who've lost their homes. I can only imagine what they go through when they hear of other people going through that terrible loss. We just have to be very sensitive how we deal with it. Any, Director O'Connor.
Thank you. I was going to bring it up during new business later, but I'd just like to echo what Director Thorpe said about the number of organizations and communities that helped us out, and as well the EOC team. Just thank you so much. And I'd also like to just thank board members here that reached out to me. Much, much appreciated. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the CAO's report or Mr. Kelly's report? All right, we move on to 2025 Statement of Financial Information, aka the SOFI report. We do have a recommendation here.
Second.
Director Ranta, seconded by Vice Chair Smith. Any discussion, questions, comments? Nope. On the motion then, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Regional grants and sponsorship fall 2026 cancellation and reallocation to 2027 intakes. We do have a recommendation. Moved by Director Blackwell, seconded by Director Thorpe. Any discussion on this? All right, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. North Kamloops Library Partnership with Literacy in Kamloops link. So we have two recommendations here. Director Bass moves recommendation 1, seconded by Director Smith. Thank you. All right, any questions or comments? No. On the motion, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. Recommendation 2. Director Blackwell, seconded by Vice Chair Smith. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. 13.1.5, request for exemption to electoral area grant in aid funding policy for electoral area B. We have a recommendation. Sorry, that was Director Smith, seconded by Director Onslow. And Director Onslow, did you want to speak to this?
This is similar to what was requested last year, but the Blue River Community Association looks after the Ebola group as well as the majority of requests for grant and aid funding. They provide all of the activities for Canada Day, the Harvest Dinner, etc. They are the nonprofit organization for Area B. So it makes sense that the money is going towards their initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? On the recommendation, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? That one is carried. 13.1.6, contract award for scrap metal recycling services. Director Houghton, thank you. Seconded by Director Morris. Sure, she says. Okay. Do we have any questions or comments on this? Director Houghton.
I just want to say if they do as good a job in all the other transfer stations and eco depots as they do at Knutsford, after they're cleaned up, you could eat off the kitchen floor like that. And hats off to this firm. They do a great job.
Thank you. Director Blackwell and then Director Smith.
Just a quick comment. I was having a discussion yesterday with an Eco Depot attendant who was dutifully removing all the nails and bolts and stuff off the ground. If you notice, and this is something that'd be great to get out to our residents, most Eco Depot attendants and metal recycling will have a bathtub or a freezer open for you to dump your nuts, bolts, and nails and that sort of thing instead of dumping them straight on the ground so we all don't get flat tires. It's a great little side hack that they do, and I would encourage people to let people know that that is a nice thing to do, is put it in the freezer or the bathtub.
Thank you. And who was the other one? Director Smith.
Thank you, Chair. For Mr. Viera, I'm just wondering if you know whether this company has a scrap car division, scrap car removal?
Yes, the company themselves offers car recycling. We just don't accept them at the Eco Depot. But I believe that through contract, they'll go to people's property and collect them and give them a quote based on how many vehicles are there, value of the scrap metal, et cetera. Yeah, you bet.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. 13.1.7, Brookmere Schoolhouse property. We do have a recommendation. Moved by Director Ranta, seconded by Director Graham. And just a reminder that this is just, if this passes, it is to direct staff to do some more research and come back with a report, not to actually do anything with the building itself. There has been some questions from residents in the area. So no, this is merely, if this passes, Staff will provide a report regarding the building and the property. Mr. Vieira, you had anything to add or no?
I guess just to add, it's covered in the report, but and to add to the chair's comments, the idea here is that the school district is offering this specifically to the TNRD of whether we're interested in purchasing the property or not. And if we decide not to move forward with it, then it will go on the open market. So the reason we're bringing this to the board is this is kind of a one-time opportunity if we want to pursue this for this community.
Thank you. Any more questions or comments? Vice Chair Smith.
I'm sure there's much more research that has to happen anyways first, but I was just curious, it sounded like the intent is actually to maintain the building on the lot.
Yeah, through the chair, that's one of the things that we need to investigate is, so we've toured the facility and been in the building and yeah, we're pretty clear in the report that the building is in poor condition. So one of the things, if directed to pursue this, is kind of look at the different options. Is it feasible to repair the building and keep it usable? Is it better to start from scratch or to keep the property just as a community park? Or, I mean, I think to be clear, what some of the community members would be wishing for is to continue to do what the school district is doing, is leaving it as is and letting the community group use it. Obviously, there's risks involved in that. So that's what we're proposing, that we would do a deeper dive into those options and come to the board with a recommendation if the board wants us to do more work on this.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Director Getz.
Just a question. In order for a school district to sell a piece of property, the Minister of Infrastructure has to approve that sale. Has that happened yet, or is that in the works, or is that something that's happening?
I can't answer that specifically. All I can tell you is that the school district has notified us that they're following their own policy for liquidation of assets, and one being that they've offered it to local First Nations, which have confirmed that they're not interested in it, and their next part of their policy is to offer it to local governments. I can't speak to the ministry approval.
Okay, thank you. And who else? Director Graham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Along with, excuse me, staff for over 10 years, I've worked on this project because I've seen it as a worthwhile project for the community. And the folks in Brookmere have maintained the property for over 40 years and used it for AGMs, Christmas celebrations, just to name a couple of them. And for them to have to maintain a park would be a piece of cake for them. Now, the Area N has a fairly large amount of Canadian community building funds that could be put into this if it went forward. And I'm asking the board to support this recommendation to see whether it's feasible. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? On the motion, then, all those in favor? Is anyone opposed? Carried. Parkland dedication at Tobiano. We do have a recommendation. Move recommendation, Director Grenier, seconded by Director Thorpe. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. We have the building permit activity highlights from May 2026. Any questions or comments on that? We have nothing reporting back from any committees. We do have action requested on a couple of correspondence items. First one, Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen, Bill M214 Firefighters Health Act. They are looking for a letter of support. Sorry, who was that? Director Getz, thank you. Seconded by Director Onslow. So provide a letter of support regarding the Firefighters Health Act. They have helpfully given us a template to follow. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Chase Curling Club. We have a letter from the Chase Curling Club requesting a letter of support to preserve and transform the Chase Curling Club into a four-season community recreation center. Looking for a motion to write such a letter. Director Houghton, seconded by Director Sarai. Motion that we send a letter of support for the Chase Curling Club. Questions or comments, Vice Chair Smith?
No.
Oh, no, just prematurely voting in favor of it. Okay, Director Tsai, did you have a question?
I'm just trying to see if there has been any comments from, Village of Chase itself. Like, are they sending a letter of support as well? Thank you.
Director Lepso is ideally placed to answer that question.
Yeah, good question. So we just passed this at our Village of Chase Council meeting. And I also got some more information. Apparently this letter was written by the TNRD's new grant writer.
All right, any questions or comments? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. All right, we have some items for information, and you'll find more about this next item in your blue folder. We've got the Sun Peaks Transfer Station. And Mr. Vieira is going to speak to this.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to provide a few comments to the board and a bit of a background around these letters being received around the changes to the operational changes to the Sun Peaks Transfer Station. So TNRD staff presented the proposed changes to the Sun Peaks Municipal Council back in February prior to bringing a fulsome report to the TNRD Solid Waste Committee on April 16th. So that detailed report is available on the April 16th agenda. So during that committee meeting, the committee recommended to the board to approve implementation of these changes, which the board approved at the May 14th meeting. So this coordinated letter writing campaign that you see in front of you began before staff were able to launch our engagement process with the affected businesses and strata corporations. So as a result, there appears to be some misunderstanding and misinformation about the proposed changes because we haven't had a chance to communicate directly with the impacted businesses. So staff are planning, have been planning and continue to plan a full engagement and communication process with those affected businesses. Since these letters have been received, however, we have provided initial response letters to all businesses in Sun Peaks, not just those that wrote a letter, but all businesses that have a business license in Sun Peaks, and that was sent out earlier this week. And in that letter clarifies the proposed changes and the rationale behind them, the same information that was presented to the committee that recommended these changes. Ultimately, the end goal of these changes is to facilitate a business-to-business waste collection model being in Sun Peaks, which is comparable to how most commercial garbage collection happens in the province. Just a final plug, if you want to dive into this further or anyone listening from the public wants further information, it's the April 16th Solid Waste Committee agenda posted on our website that has the full report, and the entire meeting and presentation is available on our YouTube page.
Thank you, Director Sarai, and then Director O'Toole.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a clarification from Manager Vieira. When it was presented to the Solid Waste Committee, it was mentioned there that it was already discussed at the council was at Sun Peaks. Was that after or before the solid waste voted on it?
It was prior to going to the Solid Waste Committee. So it was a bit of a chicken and egg scenario where we were at with staff as we wanted to make sure Sun Peaks Council was aware of what these changes that were being proposed. So what we decided to do is bring it to the council first so they are aware and they can provide any comment and feedback, which helped us develop the information that then we brought forward to the TNRD committee that actually made the changes. And the presentation to the council was to clarify what we intended to do, but it was also not a decision of the municipal council. It was a decision of the Sun Peaks board because we operate that service, not the council.
Thanks for that clarification, because I think that weighed heavy on the on the solid waste committee of what the feedback was from the council and the mayor of Sun Peaks when we made our decision. So thanks for the clarification.
Director O'Toole?
Hi, I'll add some color commentary to Manager Vieira's play-by-play, but we've got quite a stack of letters here. Working personally within the community right now with some community and business leaders on trying to facilitate kind of finding some middle ground around a hybrid model that will accommodate the business needs, but also take the pressure off of the quote residential transfer station. So that's kind of underway, and I've got some meetings coming up over the weekend, and I've been talking with Manager Vieira about that, and we'll circle back with him once I've had a couple of those meetings over the next week or so to see what kind of ideas come forward, and then work in collaboration with the TNRD to see what we can't find a solution for these commercial business owners.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on 15.2.1? Any other items in information correspondence anyone would like to pull out to deal with? Vice Chair Smith, I believe you have one.
Yeah, I would really like the TNRD to support the letter from the Mayor of Saanich with regard to provincially mandated housing targets. Many of us in small communities have been mandated by the province to go through massive exercises that require lots of resources to do rezoning and bylaw changes and all sorts of other things, but without a whole bunch of funding to go with it. So I would love to see the TNRD send a letter of support requesting the province to look at ways to help small communities and all communities actually that are following their mandates to fund us a little bit with these projects. Thank you.
So you're making that motion, Vice Chair Smith. Anyone would like to second it? Director Newstater? Oh, you'd like to second it and speak to it? Okay. Director Newstater.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just add that my perspective is that larger communities are experiencing the exact same thing. That I don't know what the measurements for success are, but they are hard to imagine from my vantage point. And the amount of staff time that's been spent doing and redoing and rejigging and inside outing work is frankly nauseating when builders and developers are trying to move projects forward and can't get what they need. As councils, the same thing. We're trying to direct and mandate and reduce red tape. And this has been a phenomenal undertaking for, as far as I can tell, zero results. So I would fully support this as well.
Any other questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Anyone else have any items, Director Grenier and then Director Lepso?
Thank you, Chair. Just referencing MLA Dirkston's request to Minister Farnsworth for some action on rural gravel roads. The annual general meeting of the Thompson-Nicola Valley folks is coming up this weekend. And Minister Dirkston and I will be there, and Minister Dirkston will be able to give me an update on his initiatives. I might remind the board that we also wrote Minister Farnsworth this year asking for increase in rural gravel road funding, and this seems to be a continuing issue. There are other electoral areas that have reached out, particularly at Silga, saying our rural gravel roads are in a state of disrepair as well. So this might be something as we approach UBCM, build on some of this advocacy that's not just by Mr. Kelly, but Mr. Dirkston, hopefully as well.
Thank you. Sorry, bang. Director Lepso and then Director Sarai.
Thank you. The 15.2.2, during our monthly meetings with an Esconlith community chief and council meetings, they also expressed a concern about this. And my understanding from the TNRD is we don't approve or disapprove, but I'm just wondering if there has been any communication between Nisconlith or this group, as the Village of Chase actually has a meeting with Nisconlith tomorrow.
Any comments on this one? CEO Hildebrand.
Yeah, no connection other than the letter we received, but no other communication that's our new wastewater facility in Pritchard.
There's no biosol.
Director Sarai. Oh. Director Lepsa, supplemental.
Yeah, so I'm just confused about what this is. And is that at the wastewater?
No, this isn't referring to any TNRD services or functions, so it doesn't have to do with the Pritchard wastewater plant. It has to do with the application of biosolids inland in the Pritchard area. But as you stated, our process, there's no involvement in the TNRD of approving or not approving those applications.
Okay, thank you.
And Director Sarai.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to support and MLA Stamer's land misuse. We had a meeting last week, our first board meeting with Silga in Peachland, and this was brought up by the councillor in Peachland, and we've drafted a letter advocating for UBCM to meet with Minister Neal. And I'll just give you a quick background of Silga stance, and it addresses all the regions around Silga, outside municipalities that we have no say in, and there is some real damage being done to our environment. So the background across the southern interior and communities as diverse as Revelstoke, Penticton, Princeton, Kamloops, local governments are struggling to ensure the safety of homeless encampments that sit on crown lands bordering their communities. These encampments often represent a significant proportion of community in comparison to large centers. In Princeton, for example, one such encampment has caused multiple structural fires that endanger the entire community. But due to the location of the encampment, Princeton services are unable to intervene. These encampments are on land that is under provincial jurisdiction, yet provincial agencies such as the NRO have not intervened despite repeated requests. Silga has put forward a request to meet with the ministry to advocate for a legislative approach to encampments on Crown land that treat rural homelessness with the same measures as those in urban centers, and to designate the agency or agencies tasked with this ongoing issue. So I would fully support that. All of us support MLA Stamers and Manager Kelly. If Silga can be of any assistance in your endeavor, we're with you, because I think this is really important. And if we don't get a tackle of it now and get their attention, it's only going to get worse.
Thank you. Anything else under information correspondence? Director Morris.
I think I've had this thing on all day. I just wanted to thank you, Director Sarai, as well. This issue is rattling literally around the area that we are, but this particular Jameson Creek issue, this is one that we do. I can safely say that this is my fourth year, and I have been engaged at every step of each year on this project. And actually, Ward Steamer has come in on this issue now as well. So we need to stay on it. And so thank you very much for the moment to get a push on that as well. And thank you for your help, Director Sarai.
Thank you. Anything else under information correspondence? All right, we move on to new business. 16.1, we have Director Thorpe, and then I have new business from Directors Grenier and Houghton. Director Thorpe.
Thank you, Chair. I will try and keep it brief. First of all, everybody would have seen a sort of board highlights from Fraser Basin Council in their blue binders. If you have any questions or anything, please let me know. We just had our out of community, or however we want to, board tour, and we were up in Williams Lake, and it was quite interesting being up there. Secondly, we've had a couple of fires in Thompson River Estates, and Skeetchison has been a fabulous neighbor. And so I would like to make a motion that we send a letter of thanks to Skeetchison for their help in the most recent fire and all their help in the past. Thank you.
Thank you. Second by Director Grenier. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried.
And I've got one last thing. I'll be really quick. It's the Rathiatra Festival this Sunday up in Venables Valley. And I would like to, on behalf of Venables Valley, invite everybody to come on up. It's a wonderful festival. It's free. They will feed you. And it's a really cool experience. So I hope that you can join us. I think I sent everybody an invitation about a month ago, but if anybody needs that invitation sent again, please let me know.
Thank you. Director Grenier.
Thank you, Chair. About half an hour ago, we approved a process, a memorandum of understanding on the Tobiano Park dedication and the continuation with the developer of that project. This sort of builds on that. And although it's not directly related to parkland dedication, the topic of parks and recreation will prompt questions from Tobiano residents about the prior recreational commitments in the Tobiano master plan. You may recall that that was approved by the province, by orders in council, with something called the Perry Commission that identified very specific benefits to be derived from the project if it were to be approved, and it was approved. And so these include providing public access to Kamloops Lake, which we have spoken of before, and establishing an equestrian center. And I would just add that some of the park dedication that has taken place are equestrian trails through what is called the equestrian neighborhood on a road that is called Rue Cheval Noir in a project that's called Tobiano, was the coat pattern of a painted horse. It's a little bit like building tennis courts without putting the tennis net up. We don't have an equestrian center, but we have equestrian trails in a fully developed area. And the residents are saying, when are they're asking me as the electoral area director, when might this happen? So while I certainly supported and motioned the previous one, I'd like to propose an additional motion related to recreation at Tobiano. And so I'll read that out. That the board send a letter to the Tobiano developer requesting an update, including timelines on the provision of both public access to Kamloops Lake and the establishment of an equestrian center.
Do I have a seconder?
Second.
Director Stankey, thank you. Any questions or comments? Director Sarai.
Yeah, I fully support your recommendation, both of them. I'm just curious, last time it was before us, we talked about the pressure that was on the Savanaw boat launch. And then we mentioned to staff if we could look at the provincial site for the boat launch too, and how that could be accessed. Has that been part of the conversation as well? And not taking away the ask of Tobiano, but I think more than one boat launch is adequate for the lake that size and the people that are using it. So I'm just wondering if staff can let me know, has anything come of the talk of the boat launch at the provincial park in Savanaw?
Through the chair, there wasn't any discussion with the province about an additional boat launch. There was an inquiry made if the city had city of Kamloops had any plans for additional boat launches accessing Kamloops Lake or the river. Nothing with the province though, no.
Sorry, supplemental. So the Savanaw boat launch at the provincial park, is that still accessed by the residents of Tobiano and Savanaw?
There's a boat launch in the community of Savanaw that's run by the Savanaw Community Association. It's not in the provincial park. I don't believe there's a boat launch at Steelhead Park. Yeah. So the two boat launches in Kamloops Lake are Tobiano and Savanaw.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? On the motion then, all those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Director Houghton.
Yeah, I'll try and make this short and sweet. It's more of a bit of an update than it is new business, but 2 weeks ago, Director Grenier and I were honored to be invited by Minister Diane Gibson, Minister of Citizen Services, to Vernon to be part of an announcement of a high-speed internet improvement within our area. And Director Grenier could not attend. In fact, it didn't affect his area. And he decided to let me do it on our behalf. And I very proudly went down there and with Minister Gibson and the folks from TELUS and talking to them prior, that this could not have happened without the full federal and provincial government support. And I thank both of them and the First Nations support. There's a special funding source for the First Nations. And in our particular area, it affects the following. It affects a beautiful strip of land from the Sconlith Indian Reserve, the municipality of Chase, on up through Turtle Valley, Pillar Lake, over the hill into Falkland, and part of the Columbia, the North Okanagan Regional District, in and around Falkland. There's a little dot, and I don't know what the dot is on Tronquil Lake, and maybe Director Gunny can fill me in on that one, but as a little dot. But it also affects quite a strip of land up the North Thompson Valley, I believe, by looking at the map, Whispering Pines, Indian Band, McClure area, then basically up the roads that we went, I believe, up into our across the province tour here a couple of weeks ago, up into that Squam Bay area. So there's quite a vast area of our area that's affected, and of all the, it's not the only areas affected. The other homes, the village of Sorrento, I believe, the municipality of Rock Creek, and others as part of this one announcement. And I was really proud to be say a few words on behalf of the TNRD. The second thing is I really want to thank the EOC Center and a real high commendation to the BC Wildfire Service on the handling of the Stump Lake fire. I attended the fire 2 days after, and you wouldn't even know a fire had been there. It was totally out. And in talking to one of the major landowners in the area who was also affected in the Rossmore fire area, Mr. Dennis Frolick, he said he'd like to send along the highest regards to the way that that fire was handled, boots on the ground, and put out Bango. And I commend everybody involved, he said, including your EOC Center. Another thing is Mel Arnold is holding, MP Mel Arnold is holding a session out at the BC Livestock Co-op yards on Monday, and I cannot attend. It's to do with private property rights. He's doing a symposium on that, and he's asked a couple of TNRD directors could go. I believe it starts at 10 and goes till noon, and that's at Stockyards out in Dallas. I'll be attending I was invited to a Trans Mountain tour at the same time on Monday. And finally, I mentioned this at the last meeting. This week is the annual meeting of the Canadian Angus Cattle Association here in Kamloops. I'm really proud that a good friend of mine, Mr. Bob Miller, and the BC Angus Association, they were asked on behalf of the Canadian Angus Association to host this event. 250 people are now staying in our motel rooms up on the top of the hill. The convention started on Tuesday. It'll be finishing on Friday. Director Kelly Hall made a presentation today. I asked my good friend, Mr. Miller, who is also a good friend of Mr. Hall, Kelly, to bring greetings today from the TNRD and from the city. And thank you, Director Hall, for doing that at 12 o'clock. I think that's classy. It shows that the municipality that they're holding the event in and their region appreciates them choosing Kamloops and the TNRD to host their event. And tomorrow I'll be one of 4 tour guides of 4 busloads of people that'll be touring the Nicola Valley, the Douglas Lake Cattle Company, and the Nicola Ranch, and quote unquote, every other one of these that they've held basically have been held inside brick and mortar. And it was my friend Bob Miller's, or our friend Bob Miller's, idea to get people out in the country. I believe it was last night, Bob took 58 people in a bus to the Savinaw Lookout overlooking Kamloops Lake. And those people were anywhere from Prince Edward Island to Vancouver Island. And he hosted them with a steak dinner at Tobiano. So we're doing it first class in this town. I'd like to thank Bob. And amongst that, I worked with staff here, Terry Hadwin and Livia and the staff at the front. Every delegate at that convention receives the Film in BC Thompson-Nicola lookbook. So I took up 250 up there on Monday, and every delegate got one. So thank you to Mr. Miller and the committee. And that ends my new business. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Houghton. And I just had one thing that this should really have gone in chairs reports, but there you go. This is an actual handwritten card from the Forest View Place Family Council in Vavenby. It says the phrase is simple and the words are few, but behind them is a whole lot of appreciation. And then the handwritten part is in appreciation of some TNRD swag that we gave them for a raffle, I believe, to benefit their society. Your kindness doesn't just fund initiatives, it brings comfort, connection, and opportunity to the people of Forest View Extended Care who benefit from these resources every day. Thank you for making a meaningful difference in our community, Forest View Family Council. Director Ranta?
There we go. Under new business, just this week earlier, I received the Municipal Finance Authority member newsletter, which comes out quarterly. I did attend the 56th annual general meeting on April 23rd, 24th in Victoria, where we authorized the issuance of $855 million in bonds to fund essential local government infrastructure. There are 40 members of the board, of the MFA board that supported that. Also, you may have noticed that Malcolm Brody, the mayor of Richmond, has decided to step down as the chair of the Municipal Finance Authority. He had been the chair for many years, and we elected Mayor Tom Dias from the city of Kelowna as the new chair of the Municipal Finance Authority. As well, the rating agencies, Moody's, Standard & Poor, and Fitch have all affirmed the highest possible rating for MFA with a stable outlook, which is a AAA credit rating, which allows us to continue to provide the lowest cost of long-term borrowing to BC local governments, even during times of economic uncertainty and variability. The next semi-annual meeting will take place in conjunction with UBCM on Tuesday, September 15th from 4:30 to 5:30. Thank you. That ends my report.
Thank you, Director Ranto. Anyone else? All right. There are no notices of motion of which I know. Does anyone have any surprises? No. All right, we are in need of a closed meeting, so I'm going to move that the meeting be closed under Community Charter Sections 91C. I'll find there's more. Labor relations or other employee relations, and G, litigation or potential litigation affecting the regional district. Director Ranta, you'll second that. Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. So short break, then we're coming back into closed.
Short break.